My name is Rachel Whittaker, and I was 37 the year I finally learned that loving someone isn't the same as trusting them with your child. 2 years after my husband died, everyone said I was doing so well. I went back to work, paid bills, handled school forms and holidays. The house was quieter, but it functioned. The only thing that really mattered was my son, Noah. He was 13 and pretending to be fine in that stubborn, quiet way that scared me more than any tantrum could have. From the outside, we looked okay. Inside, we took turns falling apart. I met my boyfriend Daniel at a friend's dinner party. He was easy to talk to, funny without being loud. When someone mentioned my late husband and the table went silent, Daniel just said, "I'm really sorry. That must have been a lot," then changed the subject. He didn't look at me with pity. He didn't treat me like a project or a tragedy. That felt rare. Coffee dates turned into dinners into weekends where he made pancakes in my kitchen while Noah shuffled past in pajama pants with a cereal bowl. Noah was polite but distant. Daniel never pushed. "Nice goal yesterday," he'd say after soccer. "Saved you a slice when there was one piece of pizza left." I told myself time would do the rest. 6 months in, Daniel took my hand on the couch one night. "Have you thought about us living together?" he asked. "It would help with bills. And it might be good for Noah, a real family again." The word family hooked into something lonely and hungry inside me. I thought about stability, another adult in the house, not carrying everything alone. I thought about Noah having someone else in his corner. "We could try," I said. He moved in at the end of summer. At first, it was new mugs in my cabinets, his jackets on my chair, another toothbrush in the bathroom. Then the comments started. "Have you noticed Noah's room is always a disaster?" Daniel asked one afternoon, standing in my son's doorway. He didn't sound curious. He sounded like he was writing a report. Might be time to start teaching him responsibility. "He'll clean it this weekend," I said. "He's been busy with school." Later. "Does he really need that much sugar? Maybe cut back on the snacks." Then, "He talks back a lot. It's disrespectful." I told myself it was normal. New person, new dynamics. I didn't like the edge in his voice, but I was tired and scared of being alone forever. Red flags look a lot like safety flares when you're lost. One night after dinner, I was at the sink, hands in warm, soapy water. Noah was upstairs. The dishwasher hummed. Daniel leaned against the counter, scrolling his phone. "Rach," he said, "we need to talk about Noah and the dad thing." The plate slipped a little in my hand. "The what?" "The dad thing," he repeated, like it was a bullet point on a meeting agenda. "I live here. I'm helping raise him. He needs to start seeing me as his father now." "He had a father," I said. "You know that." "And his father is gone," Daniel replied, too smoothly. "I'm not trying to erase him, but Noah needs structure. He needs to respect me as his new dad." Heat crept up my neck. The word new scraped against my ribs. "He's still grieving," I said. "We both are. Just give it time." "It's been 6 months," Daniel said. "I'm here. I pay bills. I'm building a life with you. This halfway mom's boyfriend thing isn't working." Something in his tone made my stomach twist, like I'd stepped somewhere I couldn't see the ground. "Let's go slow," I said. "He'll get there when he's ready." His jaw clenched. The conversation died, but the air in the kitchen stayed thin. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. A few days later, Noah came home from school, muttered a flat, "Hey," and went straight to his room. No snack, no TV, no request to go out. I told myself he was tired. Kids have off days. When he didn't come down for dinner, the quiet stopped feeling normal and started feeling wrong. I knocked on his door. "Noah, you okay?" "Yeah," he called back, too fast. I opened the door anyway. He was on his bed, knees pulled up, phone clutched in both hands. His face was blotchy, eyes red in the way that means he's been holding it in too long. He looked small, and Noah hadn't looked small in years. My heart dropped. "Hey, what's going on?" He didn't look at me. He just swallowed, then held out his phone like it weighed too much. "Just read it," he whispered. The screen showed a text thread labeled, "Daniel. Daniel, we need to talk about the dad thing. Your mom and I decided you should start calling me Dad." "Noah, I'm not ready for that." "Daniel, this isn't about being ready. I'm your dad now. Your real dad is dead. I'm alive. I'm here. Act like it." It felt like someone had punched straight through my chest and squeezed. I scrolled. "Noah, can I please just call you Daniel? I don't want another dad." "Daniel, no. Stop being difficult. Your mom is sick of your attitude too. She just won't say it to your face. Grow up." I had never said that, never hinted it, never even thought it. More messages. "Daniel, your room is disgusting. I'm not your maid." "Daniel, Your grades are slipping because you're lazy, not because grief is hard. Daniel, you make everything harder for your mom. She deserves better. Each sentence was a slap I hadn't seen land. Then the one that made my vision blur. Daniel, your dad would be so disappointed in who you've become. He'd be ashamed to call you his son. I sat down on the edge of the bed, the mattress dipping under my weight. How long has this been going on? I asked. He wiped his nose on his sleeve. I don't know, 3 weeks? Maybe more. At first I thought, maybe he was right. Maybe I was being difficult. But then that one about Dad. His voice broke on the word Dad. I set the phone aside and pulled him into my arms. None of this is okay, I said, my own voice shaking. None of it. Do you hear me? He clung to me like he was 5 again. Are you mad at me? What? No, God, no, I'm mad at him. What if you break up and it's my fault? If we break up, it's because he's been cruel to my kid. That's on him, not you. He nodded, but doubt hung between us like a fog. I picked up the phone again and started taking screenshots. Every message, every insult. I forwarded them all to myself, fingers moving in a cold, steady rhythm. When I finished, I kissed his hair. I'm calling Grandma. You're staying with her tonight. Did I do something wrong? He whispered. You did everything right, I said. I should have seen this sooner. That's on me. My mom arrived 20 minutes after I called. She didn't push for details. She just hugged Noah and said, "Come on, sweetheart. You can tell me whatever you want in the car." When the house was quiet, I sat at the kitchen table with my phone and the screenshots lined up like evidence. The grief that used to drown me felt far away. In its place was something sharp and clear. Daniel came home around 6, whistling, tossing his keys in the bowl by the door. "Hey, babe," he called. "Where's Noah? I was going to have him set the table." "He's not here," I said. My voice sounded very calm. "Sit down." His smile flickered. "Is everything okay?" I opened the first screenshot and held my phone up between us. "Why don't you tell me?" Daniel stared at the screen like he'd never seen his own words before. For a second, his face went completely blank. Then color rose from his collar, up his neck, into his cheeks. "He showed you those?" he said. "Of course he did," I replied. "Want to explain what the hell you were thinking?" His mouth tightened. "Those were private conversations between me and him, Rachel. He had no right to." "He's 13, I cut in. "You're a grown man. You don't get to have private conversations where you verbally abuse my son." His eyes flashed. "Abuse? That's a bit dramatic. I was setting boundaries. Someone has to. You let him walk all over you." I scrolled to the line that had dug its claws into my chest. "You told him his dad would be ashamed of who he's become," I said quietly. "You told him his real dad is dead. And that doesn't matter because you're here. That's not boundaries. That's cruelty." He shifted in his chair, jaw working. He needed a wake-up call. He's been milking this grief thing for years. Someone has to be honest with him. I felt something cold settle in my bones. I'd spent 2 years blaming myself for every bad moment, every late night, every tear. I had never, not once, considered that my son might be living with someone who saw his pain as an inconvenience. "You don't get to talk about my son like he's a problem to fix," I said. "You don't get to weaponize his father's death." "You're too soft on him," Daniel shot back. "You're blinded by guilt. He's disrespectful, lazy, manipulative." "Stop talking," I said. He laughed, a short, disbelieving sound. "You're really going to throw away what we have over some text taken out of context?" "Context?" I held up the phone again. "What context makes your real dad is dead act like it okay?" "He refuses to accept me as his dad," Daniel snapped. "He undermines me. I live here. I pay bills. I do everything I can for both of you, and he treats me like a stranger. There has to be consequences." "He doesn't owe you the word dad," I said. "You don't earn that by moving your boxes into a house and buying groceries. You earn it by being kind, by being safe, by not telling a grieving child that his dead father would be ashamed of him." Daniel's face twisted. "He's damaged, Rachel. Anyone can see it, and you're too wrapped up in your own grief to actually parent him." There it was, the thing he'd been circling since he moved in. "Get your things," I said. He blinked. "What?" "Pack your things," I repeated. "You have 1 hour to be out of this house." He stared at me like he was waiting for the punchline. "You're breaking up with me over some text messages?" he said. "Are you serious right now?" "Over you telling my son his father would be ashamed of him," I said. "Over you lying and saying I agree with you. Over you calling my kid lazy, difficult, damaged. Yeah, I'm serious." He shook his head, laughing again, but there was no humor in it now. "This is exactly what I mean," he said. "You always take his side. You let him control everything. Do you know how many women would kill to have someone move in? Help with bills? Be a father figure to their kid? I'm sure you'll find one, I said. It's not going to be me. You're making a huge mistake, he hissed. That boy is going to grow up a mess without a real father in his life. You'll regret this. He had a real father, I said. You're just a man who moved his stuff into the spare room. For a second, something like hurt crossed his face. Then it hardened into anger. You know what? He said. Fine. I don't need this. Your son is a spoiled brat, and you're a pathetic widow who can't move on. The word widow came out like an insult. Upstairs, I said quietly. 1 hour. He glared at me a moment longer, then spun on his heel and stomped up the stairs. Drawers slammed. Closet doors banged. I heard the scrape of a suitcase zipper, the frantic rip of hangers sliding off a rod. I stayed at the table, phone in my hand, thumb pressed against the screen, just to feel something solid. 58 minutes later, he came back down with 2 suitcases and a duffel bag. His eyes were red like he'd either been crying or screaming. You're going to regret this, he said. No one else is going to want this situation. A kid with issues, a house full of ghosts. Enjoy being alone for the rest of your life. I opened the front door. Get out of my house, I said. He brushed past me, the suitcase wheels bumping over the threshold. At the edge of the porch, he turned back one last time. You're choosing him over me, he said, like he genuinely couldn't believe it. There is no over, I replied. There's my son, and then there's everyone else. He rolled his eyes, muttered something under his breath, and walked away. The door slammed behind him, rattling the frame. The silence that followed was loud. It filled the hallway, seeped into the living room, settled on the family photos that still had my husband's face in them. That night, I changed the locks. Noah came home the next morning. My mom dropped him off and gave me a look that said she wanted details but would wait until I was ready. We ordered Chinese food and ate on the couch, cartons balanced on our knees. Noah kept glancing at the door, like Daniel might walk in at any second. He's not coming back, I said finally. Noah's shoulders dropped, a long, slow exhale leaving his chest. Because of me. Because of him, I said. Because of what he did. You didn't ruin anything, he did. He stared down at his noodles. Thank you, he said quietly. You don't have to thank me for protecting you, I replied. That's my job. He nodded, but the way he said thank you stuck with me. Like part of him genuinely believed I might have chosen Daniel. We watched his favorite show. He actually laughed out loud at a joke, head tilted back, mouth open. I hadn't realized how long it had been since I'd heard that sound in my own living room. For the first time in weeks, the house felt like ours again. I thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. Monday afternoon, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. We need to talk about Noah. I'm worried about him. Please call me. I blocked the number. An hour later, another text from a different number. You're being childish. We need to co-parent effectively. This affects all 3 of us. Co-parent. We weren't married. He'd lived in my house for 6 months. He was not Noah's parent. Blocked. That evening, I got a Facebook message from a woman I didn't know. Daniel's mom in the header. You're overreacting. He was only trying to help. You're keeping him from a boy he loves. You're cruel. Then one from his sister. You used my brother. He moved in, changed his whole life for you and your grieving son, and you threw him out like trash. Shame on you. I blocked them all. Noah noticed me on my phone more than usual. Is it him? He asked. His family, I said. It's fine. I'm dealing with it. I'm sorry, Noah murmured. Hey, I said, stop apologizing. You did nothing wrong. But I was angry, not just at Daniel, but at the way they all talked about my son like he was a project that had been taken away from them. A few days later, I saw Daniel at the grocery store. I was in the cereal aisle, comparing prices, when he suddenly appeared next to my cart, dressed like any other customer, as if he just happened to be there. Rachel, he said, soft, earnest. Can we please talk? No, I said, not looking at him. We can't. I miss you. I miss him. This is ridiculous. We're adults. We should be able to have a conversation. You were asked to leave us alone, I said. This is harassment. I'm shopping at a public store, he protested. You don't own the cereal aisle. You've never once been to this store since I've known you, I said. Don't play stupid with me. Walk away, Daniel. He stood there a second longer, waiting for me to soften. When I didn't, he made a frustrated noise and stormed off. That night, I sat at the kitchen table again with my phone and a legal pad. I wrote down dates, times, numbers, texts from new phones, messages from his family, where I saw him, what he said. I took screenshots of everything and organized them into a folder. Grief had made me slow once. I wasn't going to let it make me blind again. I scrolled to my contacts and hovered over a name. My friend Mark was a lawyer. We hadn't talked in a while. but I knew exactly what he'd say about all of this. I hit call. Rachel, he answered. Hey, everything okay? No, I said. I think my ex is harassing me and my son. I need to know what my options are. That was the moment. Sitting at my own kitchen table with a stack of screenshots and a pen in my hand, that I realized this wasn't just about a bad breakup. It was about making sure Daniel never had the power to hurt my son again. Mark didn't even let me finish explaining before he said, start documenting everything, every text, every time he shows up, dates, times, screenshots. I'll walk you through the rest. I've already started, I said. Good. If this keeps up, you'll file for a restraining order. And Rachel, don't wait for things to get worse before you act. This kind of behavior escalates. I'd felt that escalation already, in the tone of Daniel's messages, in his sudden appearances, in his mother's accusatory paragraphs. After the call, I sat alone at the table, listening to the house settle around me. The dishwasher hummed softly in the background. The smell of leftover stir-fry hung in the air. It looked like a normal evening. It didn't feel like one. The next morning, I got a call from an unfamiliar number, this time a landline. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something in my gut made me answer. Hello? Ms. Whitaker? A calm voice said. This is the vice principal from Noah's school. My heart dropped. Is he okay? Oh yes, Noah is fine. This isn't about him directly. We received a phone call from someone claiming to be your son's stepfather. He said there were concerns about Noah's behavioral issues and possible depression. For a moment, all I could hear was my own pulse pounding in my ears. I don't have a husband, I said, and Noah does not have a stepfather. The vice principal exhaled with understanding. I suspected as much, but he was insistent. He said he had parental involvement and wanted a meeting. I closed my eyes. That man is my ex-boyfriend. He has no legal relationship to my son whatsoever. He has been contacting us inappropriately. Please put a note in Noah's file. Under no circumstances should he be recognized as family. Of course, she said. We'll make sure he's not listed on any pickup or emergency contact forms either. He's not, I said, but thank you. When I hung up, the anger didn't hit all at once. It seeped in, cold and slow, like something dangerous waking up inside me. I had been naive enough to think Daniel only wanted access to me. He wanted authority, power, control. And he wanted it over a boy who owed him nothing. That afternoon, two things happened within minutes of each other. First, another unknown number texted me. We need to discuss Noah's well-being. You are too emotional to see what's happening. Call me. Blocked. Then another. You're being childish. We can't co-parent like this. This affects all of us. Blocked. And then a Facebook notification from Linda Miller, Daniel's mother. You are tearing a family apart. He tried to be a father to that boy. You punished him for caring. Followed by, Noah is struggling because you refused to let a man help guide him. I stared at the word guide. It felt like someone spitting on my living room rug. Another message came in, this time from Daniel's sister, Megan. You should be ashamed. My brother gave up everything to live with you and help raise Noah, and you treated him like garbage. You're sick. I blocked her too. My phone didn't stop buzzing for hours. It was like Daniel had assembled a small army of people who believed every word he said. People who had never spent 10 minutes alone with my son but were suddenly experts on his life. Noah came downstairs at one point and noticed my expression. Is it him again? He asked quietly. No, I said, his family. He looked even smaller than he had the night he showed me the texts. I'm sorry. No, I said immediately. You don't ever apologize for someone else's behavior. But he still looked guilty. That awful, familiar guilt kids carry when they think adults are breaking because of them. Later that week, Daniel took things further. I was at the gym, my regular gym, doing leg presses when I saw him out of the corner of my eye. He was pretending to stretch, but he kept glancing at me. He'd never worked out there in the 6 months he'd lived with us. I sat up slowly. He approached, wiping his forehead with a towel that was definitely brand new. This is stupid, he said. We need to talk. We can't avoid each other forever. I'm not avoiding you, I said. I'm telling you to stay away from me and my son. You don't get to make that call, he snapped. I love him too, whether you like it or not. You don't love him, I said quietly. You love the idea of being someone's savior. He flinched like I'd slapped him. This is harassment, I continued. If you come near me again, I'm reporting it formally. He scoffed, but there was an edge of panic underneath. I'm in a public place. And now you're leaving, I said. I went straight to the front desk and explained the situation. The staff made a note of it and assured me they'd document any further issues. I walked out shaking, partly anger, partly adrenaline, partly fear of where this was heading. It headed somewhere worse, The next day, Noah had soccer practice. The field was behind the middle school, ringed with chain link fencing and bright yellow benches. When Noah spotted Daniel standing on the sidelines like he belonged there, he froze in the middle of a drill, so suddenly that the coach had to blow the whistle. I saw it all happen in slow motion, Noah's face draining of color, his shoulders tightening, his eyes flicking around like maybe he could find me. I stormed across the grass. "Daniel," I said sharply, "leave, now." "I just wanted to watch him," he said, spreading his arms like he was some kind of loving guardian. "I used to come to these, remember?" "You came to 2 practices," I said. "And now you're banned from all of them. Leave before I call the police." "You're being insane," he hissed. "He needs structure. He needs discipline. I'm the only one willing—" Before he could finish, the coach walked over. "Is everything okay here?" "This is my ex," I said. "He's harassing my family. He needs to leave." The coach didn't hesitate. "Sir, if you're not the parent of a player, you're going to have to leave the field." Daniel stared between us, at me, at the coach, at Noah still frozen in the middle of the grass. Then he said loudly enough for half the field to hear, "You're going to regret this." He stormed off. I wrote everything down the second we got home. Date, time, witness names, what he said. I wasn't scared anymore. I was prepared. After practice, I called Mark again. "This is textbook harassment," he said. "Send me all the screenshots, all your notes. You're filing for a restraining order." By the next morning, Mark had drafted a cease and desist letter on official legal letterhead and sent it to Daniel via certified mail. It demanded that he stop contacting me, stop contacting Noah, and stop appearing anywhere near us. I thought maybe that would be enough. It wasn't. Later that afternoon, I checked my email at work and saw a message from an unknown address. The subject line was, "We need to talk about Noah." My entire body tensed. The email was 5 pages long. Unhinged didn't begin to describe it. Daniel wrote about how Noah was manipulative, deceitful, emotionally unstable. He claimed Noah was using his grief to control me, that he was developing serious personality issues, and that I was too fragile and emotionally compromised to see what was right in front of me. It was psychological warfare dressed up as concern. I forwarded it straight to Mark. His reply came within minutes. "Keep this. We're absolutely filing for a restraining order. This email alone is enough to get one." I stared at the screen, my hands cold, my heart thudding against my ribs. Daniel wasn't just crossing a line now. He had sprinted past it. And I knew, with a clarity that felt like stepping into bright sunlight, that the next move had to be mine. The next morning, I walked into work craving nothing but a slow day and a quiet desk. Instead, my boss stopped me as soon as I set my bag down. "Rachel, got a minute?" His tone wasn't angry, just cautious. That was almost worse. I followed him into his office, heart tightening with each step. "Everything okay?" I asked. He sighed, folded his hands on his desk. "I got a call yesterday from a man who said he was your ex-boyfriend?" For a split second, I couldn't breathe. "What did he say?" My voice was thin. "He said he was concerned about your mental state, that you were going through an emotional crisis impacting your work performance. He insisted I keep an eye on you." The room tilted. My boss held up a hand quickly. "I want you to know, your work has been excellent. I don't believe a word of what he said, but I figured you should be aware." I steadied myself against the chair. "There's more," he added, carefully. "He said he was planning on calling child services about your son, claimed there were concerns at home." My stomach dropped so fast I felt nauseous. I swallowed. "He's lying. He's harassing me and my son. I'm filing for a restraining order." He nodded. "If CPS reaches out, just tell them the truth. You're a good mother, Rachel." I managed a thank you, walked out on shaking legs, and sat in my car until the world stopped spinning. Daniel was trying to destroy my life from every direction, through Noah's school, through my job, through threats of CPS. The more I set boundaries, the more unhinged he became. When I got home that evening, there was an envelope sticking halfway out of my mailbox. My breath caught when I saw the handwriting. "Daniel." But this wasn't a handwritten note. It was a printed letter, 3 pages, full of delusions. He wrote that Noah was unsafe, that I was emotionally unstable, that he, Daniel, was the only stable adult presence Noah had, that he was begging me to allow him back into our family. I took screenshots of every page, then dropped the physical letter straight into a plastic evidence folder. I wasn't scared anymore. I was furious. 2 days later, Daniel's sister showed up at my workplace. I was leaving for lunch when she stepped out from behind a parked car, arms folded. "You and I need to talk," she snapped. "No," I said, brushing past her. "We really don't." She grabbed my arm. My entire body locked. My brother is devastated, she hissed. He loved your son. He gave up everything for you. He gave up a lease ending in 2 months, I said, pulling my arm free. He didn't give up anything. He told me the truth, she said loudly, that Noah is out of control, that you're too weak to discipline him. And now Daniel is talking about hurting himself. I turned slowly to face her. If he is threatening self-harm, call 911, I said. That is not my responsibility anymore. And if you ever put your hands on me again, I will file a police report. Her face contorted. You're heartless. I walked away without looking back. Security banned her from the building before the end of the day. The night before the court hearing, I barely slept. Not because I was scared, but because I finally knew what was coming. Morning arrived with the gray sky and air heavy enough to feel like a warning. Mark picked me up so we could walk into the courthouse together. He gave a quick nod. You ready? Yes, I said, surprised by how true it felt. Inside the courtroom, Daniel was already there, sitting with his mother and sister. None of them looked at me, or maybe they did, and I just didn't care anymore. He didn't have a lawyer. That told me everything about how seriously he took this. When our case was called, we stood before the judge. My heart pounded. Slow, steady, controlled. Mark presented everything in a clean, airtight sequence. The text messages to Noah, the emotional manipulation, the threats, the emails diagnosing my child, the phone call to my job, the attempted interference with Noah's school, the appearance at soccer practice, the letter in the mailbox, the repeated unwanted encounters, the family harassment, the screenshots, the witnesses, the documented dates and locations. Mark spoke calmly, professionally. Daniel did not. When the judge asked him to respond, he launched into a dramatic monologue about love and family and trying to help a boy in need. He's twisting everything, Daniel said. I was trying to be a father to that kid. He's been manipulating her ever since his father died. Anyone can see he has issues. The judge cut him off. You told a grieving 13-year-old that his deceased father would be ashamed of him, she said, lifting the printed page. Explain the context that makes that acceptable. Daniel sputtered. He was disrespectful. Someone had to put him in his place. She doesn't discipline him. You called him damaged in an email, the judge said, flipping pages. Are you a mental health professional? No, but... You contacted his school pretending to be a legal guardian. Daniel blinked. I thought they needed to know. You contacted her employer with claims about her mental state. Daniel's mother stood abruptly. Your Honor, my son was only trying to... The judge didn't even look at her. Ma'am, sit, or I will have you escorted out. She sat. Daniel glared at me, eyes narrow. This is punishment. She's punishing me for caring. I love them. The judge closed the file. Enough. Silence rippled across the courtroom. This is not love, she said. This is harassment, emotional abuse, and persistent boundary violation. Given the overwhelming evidence, I am granting the permanent restraining order. Daniel's face went slack. You are to stay 500 feet away from Ms. Whitaker and her son at all times. No contact, no third-party contact, no exceptions. Violate this order, and you will be arrested. Do you understand? This isn't fair, he whispered. Do you understand? The judge repeated. His jaw twitched. Yes. Court dismissed. It was over. As we left the courtroom, Daniel's mother hissed at me. You destroyed my son. His blood will be on your hands. Mark turned, calm as steel. And those words were just spoken in front of court officers. If anything happens, we have witnesses that your family is making false accusations. I suggest you walk away. She did. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The next days were quiet. The next weeks were peaceful. The next months were healing. The restraining order held. His one attempt at a "please talk to me" text got him a police warning, and then nothing. Just silence. His mother tried a whisper campaign in our neighborhood, but all it took was me calmly showing the restraining order and brief summary for people to understand the truth. The rumors died quickly. Noah improved in visible, beautiful ways. His therapist said he seemed lighter. His grades rose. He made the honor roll. He joined drama club. He laughed at dinner again. He slept better. He lived without walking on eggshells in his own home. One night he said softly, Mom, when you date again, can I meet them first? Before it gets serious? Absolutely, I said. And if you don't like them, that's it. It ends there. Really? Really? Your peace matters more than anything. He nodded, relieved. I watched him stir his noodles and realized something. The real revenge wasn't legal paperwork or courtroom victories. It was this. Peace, safety, a home without fear. Daniel had lost everything he tried to force his way into, a future he imagined where he was the new dad, the savior, the center, all because he couldn't do one simple thing: be kind to a grieving child. I tucked that truth away like armor. Our life had been rebuilt, brick by brick, boundary by boundary. And this time the foundation was solid. Peace isn't loud. It doesn't slam doors or leave long voicemails or send 5-page emails about your supposed failures as a human being. It doesn't stalk grocery aisles or show up at soccer fields or call your boss pretending to be worried. Peace is quiet. And for the first time in a long time, quiet wasn't frightening. It was a blessing. The restraining order held firm. Daniel only slipped once, a single text from an unfamiliar number. I still love you. Please just talk to me. Mark told me exactly what to do. Screenshot, file, report. 2 days later, an officer contacted Daniel with a warning. After that, nothing. No calls, no appearances, just emptiness. It shocked me how quickly someone who'd tried to wedge himself inside every corner of our lives could simply vanish. But that's the thing about people like Daniel. They don't fight when the rules are real. They only fight when they think they can win. Once a judge spoke the words aloud, permanent restraining order, he broke like glass. His family tried one last time to keep the drama alive. His mother made several melodramatic posts on Facebook about parental alienation and an abusive narcissist who destroyed her son. I didn't respond. Not publicly, not privately. But my neighbors, they asked me questions. Mrs. Carmichael from 2 houses down caught me taking out the trash one afternoon. "Rachel, dear," she said softly, "is everything okay? We heard, well, rumors." I simply brought out the sealed envelope with the restraining order, flipped it open to the judge's signature, and handed it to her. Her eyebrows shot up. "Oh," she said. "Well, that explains quite a lot." She told the other neighbors. The whisper campaign died within a day. People who knew me trusted me. People who didn't know anything stayed out of it. His mother's efforts evaporated. I didn't feel triumphant, just relieved. At home, things shifted in ways that were small but powerful. Noah wasn't flinching whenever someone knocked at the door. He wasn't hyper-aware of where his phone was in case he needed to show me something scary again. He wasn't tensing at every conversation that involved discipline or respect. He was 13. Silly, loud, goofy, easily excited, easily annoyed. Human in all the ways kids are supposed to be. He laughed more. He slept better. He talked more openly about school, about friends, about missing his dad without feeling like talking about grief made him difficult. One evening, he walked into the kitchen where I was stirring pasta and said, "Mom, yeah? I'm glad he's gone." I looked at him, really looked at him. So much had been taken from him: the wonder of childhood, the security of a 2-parent home, the softness that grief tries to crush. But here he was, still standing, still trying, still trusting me. I smiled. "I'm glad too." He hesitated. Then, "You're really okay being single?" The question surprised me. "I am," I said, "for now, at least." He nodded. "If you do date again, can we do it differently this time?" My heart clenched and softened all at once. "Yes," I said. "You get to meet them before anything serious happens. And if you don't like them, that's it. No discussion." His shoulders loosened. "Okay, good." Later that night, I cried quietly in the shower. Not from sadness, but from something else. Gratitude, relief, release. I had ignored red flags because loneliness makes a person do stupid things. I had believed intensity was affection. I had confused eagerness for commitment. I had mistaken someone forcing their way into a father role for someone wanting to help. Never again. Never again. 4 months after the restraining order, I took Noah to his favorite diner, the one with chipped red vinyl booths and a jukebox that hasn't worked since before he was born. He ordered pancakes. I ordered an omelet. Normal, simple, ours. Halfway through breakfast, he said, "Mom, yeah? Do you think Dad would be proud of me?" Something broke open inside me. An ache I hadn't let myself feel in months. I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "He would be proud of every part of you," I said. "Every single part." He stared at the table, blinking fast, the way kids do when they don't want tears to fall. "He wouldn't be ashamed," he whispered. "No," I said, firm but soft. "Your father loved you. Nothing you do or don't do changes that. Ever." Daniel's words were cruel and wrong. Noah nodded slowly, and just like that, a weight slid off both our shoulders. A week later, I found the evidence folder, the one with printed screenshots, emails, letters, timestamps, everything. I sat cross-legged on the living room rug and flipped through it page by page. This stack of paper had once represented fear, danger, chaos, threat. Now it represented something else. Proof that I fought for my son. Proof that the judge believed us. Proof that Daniel never gets near us again. I slid the folder into the back of a locked cabinet, not to revisit, just to keep, just in case. Then I took a long breath and stood up. The house felt light, open, safe, peaceful. Daniel could spend the rest of his life telling anyone who would listen that he was the victim. His mother could paint him as a wounded hero. His sister could blame me for all his failures. Let them. I had what mattered. A son who laughed again. A home that breathed. A future that felt possible. And the court documents to prove the truth. Our truth. The only truth that mattered. We didn't need revenge. We had peace. And that was enough.